Putin was truly on a roll today. Besides threatening Europe again with some kind of war in 2030, he also stated that the Russian economy is, in fact, the most resilient economy in the entire world, he claimed. And all the revanchist Western forces who eagerly yearned to carve up a piece of Russia, which they believed would inevitably collapse, found that simply didn't happen, and in his estimation, it never, ever will. They truly believed that they would absolutely destroy Russia within a very short period of time. Destroy it. And the European subservient allies immediately joined in this endeavor by the previous American administration, hoping to gain something from it. To profit immensely from the impending collapse of our nation, to reclaim what they believe was unjustly lost during prior historical epochs, something they could truly capitalize on, and to attempt to exact their revenge. But now become obvious to everyone. All these attempts, and indeed all these destructive plans directed against Russia, have utterly and completely failed. Well, I wouldn't really put it that way. I'm not sure who exactly crafts these speeches for Vladimir Putin, but I imagine when he actually delivers them himself, particularly out loud, he must come to the realization that they're likely intended for an audience consisting solely of his most fervent and dedicated followers. In reality, nothing has really failed. Oil prices have now fallen below $60 per barrel. You are well aware of this. Russia fundamentally possesses a commodity-based economy, sustained by exporting raw materials, and currently not under the most favorable conditions. Considering the sanctions levied against the shadow fleet and the further sanctions that, as I will soon mention, were implemented today by the European Parliament, or at least were voted on concerning Russian gas, LNG, and other related commodities. So $60 a barrel. Of course, that's definitely not the threshold or the bar that could entirely devastate the Russian economy to its core. It's been said many times what is needed. If it's 40, it would be really bad. Lower is great, higher not so much. But consider this, the 19th sanctions package with oil at $60 a barrel, then a 15% reduction, all based on the consistent price over the past 3 weeks, I believe. So what does this imply? It will now be around $53. This is a quite significant impact, isn't it? Therefore then, Putin is being rather seriously deceptive indeed. Furthermore, should there be any consideration of lifting sanctions on Russian energy resources, such a measure would only come to pass if Russia unequivocally agrees to the very specific peace plan provisions that have already been carefully outlined and collaboratively agreed upon by Washington, Kiev, and Brussels. The American delegation plans to articulate these provisions to the Russians this weekend, and their reaction will crucially determine whether the U.S. proceeds with implementing additional sanctions against the Russian Federation. And incidentally, this was articulated quite unambiguously today. The United States of America is preparing new sanctions. There was even an article about it in the reputable publication Bloomberg. The United States is preparing new sanctions against the Russian energy sector, specifically energy, in case Putin rejects the peace agreement with Ukraine. Among the options currently under consideration are, for example, the pursuit of vessels within the shadow fleet and also the pursuit of traders, those directly involved in these specific operations. And similarly, these new measures could potentially extend to other spheres of activity, specifically within the Russian energy sector. However, all of this could come to pass if Putin chooses to reject the peace plan provisions. I emphasize again. Furthermore, according to Bloomberg sources, the American administration is set to announce what exactly will be introduced, will officially publish and make a public announcement regarding its decision, effectively by this Saturday. So, that's the story. And that's why, when we observe Putin expressing concerns about certain entities seeking revenge and aiming to dismantle Russia, it really serves as a direct response to that. To what could unfold this Saturday. Putin is undoubtedly under tremendous pressure at the moment. Having made significant promises in Anchorage, his subsequent retraction of those commitments now effectively jeopardizes, well, himself quite clearly, yes. But he has his benefactors, for example, in China or India. He will find ways to keep busy. However, the true consequence is that he is systematically destroying his own country's economy. And that would spell a genuine, not merely a mental, but an authentic and palpable return to the Dark Ages. And they are quite fond of the word smuta in the Russian Federation. According to sociological models that exist, that have been proven, and their formulas, when the number of people in a country living in poverty reaches a certain threshold, for instance, 45%, it essentially ignites a revolution. That's what awaits Putin. That's why he's so on edge today and making these rather aggressive statements. Regarding Europe, which, following the United States' lead, also made its own significant announcement today. The European Parliament has just voted to implement a ban on the importation of Russian gas and LNG. Yes, according to the draft, and I'll read it, imports of Russian LNG will cease at the beginning of 2026. Moreover, the delivery of pipeline natural gas is set to be curtailed until the 30th of September 2027. The document also provides for fines for operators who contravene these new regulations, which are to be implemented by the EU member states. Currently, this proposed legislation is awaiting approval from the Council of the EU. But of course, the most effective sanctions, the ones that genuinely work and make a difference, are undeniably those that unfold directly on the battlefield. We have a really great announcement from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Sanctions policy in action. The Slavyansk oil refinery and a number of other aggressors' facilities have been hit. So, to help us understand what the Slavyansk oil refinery is, I've just found some detailed information. Indeed, this refers to the infrastructure of the oil refinery located in the city of Slavyansk na Kubani, which is situated within the Krasnodar Krai region. On December 17, 2025, special units of the Defense Forces employed deep strike capabilities to neutralize the infrastructure of this very facility. According to the findings from previous missions, a drilling rig located in the Caspian Sea was struck on December 14th and again on the 17th or the 14th. Furthermore, this inflicted significant, considerable damage, causing the complete shutdown of all 14 wells in the Caspian Sea. It was indeed a substantial blow. So that's truly fantastic news. And now, in addition, we have the Krasnodar Krai involved. Madyar penned a truly excellent post today. He stated that amid the plummeting prices for their wormy oil, as I mentioned earlier, actively working to engineer a fuel deficit in the swamps has been, continues to be, and will always remain a paramount priority among all priorities. Sanctions, you see, are fluid, yet the gaping holes created in their fuel supply take a long, long time to heal. Slavyansk oil refinery, Krasnodar Krai, RF eyes and sting of the worm terror. A courtesy visit was made on December 17th by the birds, and it specifically states which birds they were. So, this operation was carried out by the former 14th Regiment in collaboration with the Special Operations Forces and the Main Intelligence Directorate. That's a wonderful story, I believe. And just to conclude, the only individual who genuinely fears Putin's threats and responds to them, well, that's Viktor Orbán, residing somewhere in Budapest, isn't it? He's the one who, based on information from a specific Hungarian publication whose name I'm just about to recall, has admitted that he had actually placed a call to Putin. So Orbán was corresponding electronically with Putin, inquiring whether Russia would indeed penalize Hungary because of the European Union's decision regarding Russian assets. This information is reported by the Hungarian pro-government publication Mandina. The Prime Minister of Hungary stated that he asked the Russian dictator about Russia's possible reaction to the EU's decision to use frozen Russian assets to help Ukraine. According to him, Putin assured him that Moscow would react decisively and would take Hungary's position into account. Meanwhile, Orbán stressed that Budapest does not support this EU initiative, calling it a new level of escalation. Additionally, he accused the European Union of violating the principle of loyal cooperation and stated he would no longer consider sanctions agreements binding for Hungary. I don't think Orbán can get any more deeply subservient to Putin. I mean, first of all, you'd have to be in better physical shape for that.